Hello, bloomers. Coach Chichi here. Welcome to a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. For those who are interested in content that has to do with understanding abuse, and if you have anyone who's in an abusive relationship and you need clarity on how to walk through it with them and help them to navigate their way out of it, you might want to listen to the end of this video. This is a video that is centered towards why people find difficult or never leave abusive relationships. There are 12 reasons that I've been able to gather qualitatively and quantitatively, and I've put them together and compressed them into 12 major points. I don't know if we'll be able to handle all 12 points in one part, but perhaps we'll break it down into two parts of six points each. So let's go with the first part. The number one reason is faulty attachments or emotional bonds. Now, it is science has said that the psychologists have said that the human brain does not really fully develop until the age of 24. So, what that means is that for anyone who has experienced a turbulent childhood, either because of a present father, an absent father or mother, a negligent caregiver, whoever that caregiver of that child is, and they have not gotten the right and adequate amount of emotional care and support that they needed while they were growing up, it sets back their brain and it causes some sort of deficiency that shows up in adulthood. Oftentimes, when there are feelings of rejection and abandonment, they could develop faulty coping mechanisms. And sorry, I'm looking down because I have my notes. It's a long one. They could develop faulty attachment coping mechanisms, and part of this faulty mechanisms can play out in adulthood at either being too clingy or being too withdrawn. They have what they call anxious attachment styles. They take on blame for every tension in their adulthood. So they're always seeking to maintain the peace, even at the detriment of their own peace. So they take on the personality, they lose their personality along the way, and they take on the personality of the person that they find themselves in a relationship with. So this is part of the problem, so that they are incapable, they come to a point in their lives where they are incapable of making sound, definitive decisions, and they always acquiesce to their partner to make decisions for them. That is one thing, because they lack they're afraid of conflict, even though sometimes conflict is necessary. They lack the ability to engage in conflict in a healthy way and find healthy resolutions. So that's the first one, faulty attachment or emotional bonding styles. The second one is low self-esteem. Now, when people of authority use abusive words, overly abusive, they're overly critical, they do not find any reason whatsoever to praise and acknowledge efforts that their children or their lower ward is putting into things. They're always shutting them down, telling them they talk too much, they're putting themselves too much out there, talking them about their physical looks. After a while, it begins to take a toll on the self-esteem, on the self-worth of that ward. And when they grow up in adulthood, they seem to always want praise. They over engage and over exert themselves. They go over and aboard seeking for acknowledgement, seeking for love, seeking for praise, because they have grown up to have a pretty low self-esteem, and so they're always aiming to please, and they don't have any boundaries, and people take undue advantage of them. So that's the second one, low self-esteem. Number three, normalization. Now, children who grow up in abusive homes oftentimes take on, they're like sponges, dry sponges. When you put them in that environment, they absorb everything that's in that environment, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So oftentimes, if they have, sorry, they're mowing the, it's an open field, so the mowing is going on, but I hope that you can hear me. If they have been exposed in an environment where daddy uses lash hard tones, mommy uses insultive languages, and is always putting one child over the other child, they could grow up to treat their future spouses in the same way that they saw their parents treat each other. If there was no respect in the home, they are more likely not to respect their spouse. If there was abuse in the home, maybe the use of verbal abuse or physical abuse, they are most likely to repeat the same thing when they also grow up to their partners or to their future spouses. Their normal becomes rage, shows of anger, physical abuse, maybe shoving or pushing or even outright hitting. And these traits become ingrained in them as an acceptable way to relate to people. So that is their default setting. So the default setting is more towards abuse than more healthy, peaceful ways of resolving issues. Like Pastor Kinsley will say, he's a very popular person on this YouTube streets, and he's also a counselor. He will say, how normal is your normal? All right. So that's number 3. Now the fourth point in today's video is indoctrination. Indoctrination. Now, many of us come from traditional homes, maybe religious homes, or highly traditional settings where we have all these age-old beliefs that have guided our lives distinctively and guided our lives strictly, and especially religious settings. So there is a lack of tolerance, for instance, for the Christian faith, for those who are extreme views on divorce. They extremely believe that under no circumstances whatsoever should divorce be an option within a marriage. So the belief is that the marital institution must be maintained at all costs. In some homes also, when daughters have complained about maybe issues that they're experiencing in their marriage, you hear things like, you're married now, don't come back home no matter what happens. Whatever happens with you and your husband, you guys should deal with it. You hear things like, is that all? He's okay, so he's doing that, but he's still providing for you and the children. Or things like, do you know what we experienced during our own time? Or things like, all men are the same, all men are the same, my dear. You better stay there. Marriage, there's no husband out there. You better hold the one you have. These kinds of comments reinforce the fear that or the fear that the victim of this abuse has of leaving that relationship. Okay? And the church, the message is preached from the pulpit. You hear it very loud and very clear. And we have had very detrimental consequences in churches when this absolute no to divorce. You hear God hates divorce is very popular. God hates divorce, and they don't pay attention to the nuances of divorce and where it can be helpful. All right, so that's another thing, indoctrination. Now, the fifth point, shame. Shame. This is especially true for women who maybe have married later in life. If you've married much later in life and then you've come into, everybody has finally come. Oh, fantastic. Our sister's getting married. Oh, she's finally married. Oh, thank God. And then you go in and then boom, it's hell. What do you do? How are you going to tell people that this marriage that they have celebrated is something that is hell on earth for you? Where do you go? Who do you tell? How do you even tell them? Shame. Those who went exactly as another point in the shame is those who have probably gone ahead in a relationship that their family and friends have warned them against. And they have said, no, I love him. We'll sort it out. I love him. And then they've gone in and then they've realized that love is not the answer or the cure to everything. And so there's shame now to go back and tell those same people who told you not to go into this thing in the first place. There was a lot of hesitation and shame in in letting them know that yes, you guys were right. And so they stay to protect their image, the image of the relationship, and make it look like, yeah, everything is okay, and when it's not. So shame is another issue because they don't want that I told you so. We told you so. The sixth item here is fear, especially the fear. There are two parts to this fear: the fear of starting over, number one, especially when you've invested, when the abuser has, and when the victim has invested a lot of time, energy, money into that relationship. And they cannot, I mean, you married somebody in your 20s, and in your 40s you've realized that this thing is not going anywhere. You've rather than gained, you've lost everything, almost everything, including your self-worth and your self-esteem. Where do you go from here? Your financial, your finances and everything has become so intertwined into this person that there is no, you don't even know where his ends and where yours begin. So the fear of starting over. How do you start? Where do you go? Because you spent all of these years trying to salvage, save, or survive and cope with that relationship. The second part of the fear is especially when threats have been made. There are partners who have right out told their victims, you can't go anywhere. The day you leave, I'll let you fill in the blanks. And there are those who have said, if I cannot have you, nobody else will. So when those threats are constantly being bombarded into the ears of the victim, especially when those threats are associated with bouts of anger and even some, you know, it can put the fear of God in them and make them stay put and not seek for help, even though it's supposed to be the other way around, where they're supposed to actually go seek for help. So fear is the other thing. Okay, we're right above the 12-minute mark. I'm going to end this one for today. We'll continue with the next 6 points in the next episode. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. I'll see you.